This is the Big Lap Chats podcast, where our mission is to help caravanners and campers plan their ultimate lap of Australia. Whether you're dreaming of hitting the road or already travelling, we provide all the information and tools you'll need to bring your dream to life. Tune in as our expert host Annette Jones chats with Australia's big lappers, caravanners and campers, sharing hints and tips for creating the best memories while travelling around Australia. Be sure to check out Annette's website, AllAroundOz, Australia's leading site for planning a lap of Australia. But now, settle in and hit play while you're on the road and listen as Annette delivers today's episode.
Welcome to another episode of Big Lap Chats, and today my guest is Jess Day from Spotto Books, and she's also known as Outback Jess.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, you're welcome. And how did Outback Jess come about? To get that from?
It's actually from my mates in Newcastle. When I was tour guiding, they could never really keep up with where I was at. So every time they asked, "Oh, where's Jess?" And they go, "Oh, she's out back somewhere. She's in Alice Springs, or she's in Queensland." Yeah, so they just said, "Oh, yeah, outback somewhere." So that's how I got Outback Jess, and it's just stuck.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself for those people that don't know you already.
So I'm an ex-tour guide for over 10 years, and I started tour guiding out in Alice, and then I moved over to Western Australia and I tour guided all around the southwest. I moved up to beautiful Broome and I did the Kimberley tours there. I also did a season in Purnululu National Park, which is the beautiful Bungle Bungles. If you ever get a chance to go there, they're incredible. And from that, I met my partner in the Kimberleys, and his name's Gary Day. G'day. And I was always searching for an Outback Jack, so he fit the mark. And so we worked for the same company in the Kimberley and doing big camping tours, 10-day camping tours through there, which was amazing. And then we travelled Australia. We did half a lap of Australia. Came down to the Whitsundays just in time for Cyclone Uliri. So we lived through a cyclone, which was a bit exciting. Came all the way back down, and we ended up working on Moreton Island for a bit, and then back up to far north Queensland. And when we fell pregnant with our first child, we moved back to Newcastle. And we thought it fitting to name her Kimberley after where we first met, because we didn't think it'd be fair to call her Broome.
We're grateful for that.
I think she is. And then we still have itchy feet syndrome, so we still do a lot of trips, but they're a bit smaller. I've got 2 kids now, but yeah, we've done a full lap of Australia with the kids, and then like short trips out to Birdsville, one up the Cape, and then just like trips to Queensland. Yeah. So I'm very well travelled. I love Australia, and yeah, that's a bit of my history, working history.
Oh, that's fantastic. And were your kids old enough to homeschool them on the road?
One was, and one was preschool. So when we did our first big lap, my son Zach was 4 and Kimberley was 6. So she was in year 2. So we did what I call road schooling. So we got like a little bit of work from the school, and we just did a lot of practical things like map reading, get them to count the change, work out the distance, how long we'd be traveling in the car, and then learning about all the different animals. She kept a diary every day. My son was a little bit too young to do a diary. He wasn't writing yet, but the best thing about traveling with kids is they're like sponges, and they just absorb everything they see, everything that they interact with, the people, the animals, the locations. So it's a wonderful learning experience. So I technically call it road schooling. I didn't do the full homeschooling on the road. I didn't have a set thing, but my kids are back in mainstream schooling. We only did it for 6 months, but I find that they're really excelling in their life, and they've slotted back in. So I think if you can take 6 months, a year out, and give your kids an experience without putting too much pressure on the schooling side of it, because the life skills that they learn when they're on the road, and just being able to be adaptable too, because You don't have your normal schedule like you do when you're living at home, and things change. The weather changes things. Mother Nature says, no, you can't go this way, that it's flooded. So
Yeah.
it just teaches the kids to adapt to situations, teaches them resilience and confidence, and their life skills that they can take with them through whatever they choose to do when they grow up.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I lived in Zimbabwe in Africa.
Oh, wow.
My first son started school in Africa,
Wow.
and my youngest son started school in Bougainville in Papua New Guinea. And
Bougainville. I love it.
not spelt Bogan, but yeah, it makes me chuckle too. And we would take off for 4 days at a time, and I was the first time we did that, I went to his teacher, the eldest one's teacher, and said, we'd like to do this and take him out of school for a couple of days. And she said, oh, like, it doesn't matter. Any learning that he will have out there will be far better than behind a school desk.
Yeah.
He's going to learn so many more skills out there. So, yeah, I'm a great advocate
100%,
for that.
yeah. And even with the geography, they know,
Mm,
like when they're back in the classroom, they know where Darwin is, they know where
yeah.
Carragini is, they know all
Mm,
these little places, and they understand the climates when they're talking about deserts out at
mm,
Uluru. And they've got a lot of knowledge, earthly knowledge that they've learnt along the way, even though it wasn't out of a book. So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So, what do you think is one of the things that most lappers overlook that could make or break their entire journey around Australia when they're doing the lap, do you think?
Overlook. Oh, packing wise, I think maybe one of the big things is people probably pack too much. And what I
Yeah.
really want to give a bit of advice is less is more. Take less with you. You find you'll get immersed more in the nature of everything when you're there. I like talking from the perspective of a parent with kids. Don't take toys. Like they're going to be playing in nature, and they're going to like playing with shells and rocks and stuff. I would probably just take one comfort toy that they can sleep with and have in the car. And apart from that, just let it be light. Like less is more, and you'll find yourself a lot freer. And if you really need it, if you've left it behind and you really need it, you can buy it along the way. But I think
Mm,
people overpack. I'm
yeah.
sure if like maybe on your first trip you remember you going and you get out back out of the van. Oh, I didn't even use that or that. So just
Yeah.
pack less, and if you really need it, you can get it along the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Good tip. We've just done that. We had to go back to Harvey Bay to fix up a bathroom, and it gave us an opportunity to gut the van and then completely repack it. And
Yeah.
I covered a big 2-seater lounge of stuff that we weren't taking with us.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, we do.
You
Because I think when you first take off, you don't realise that, A, you're probably going to wear the same 2 or 3 things, like pairs of shorts or tops, or you get your favourite T-shirt or whatever, and you're pretty much in thongs most of the time. I was.
That's it. And
I am.
hiking boots when you go
And
for a hike.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, less is more. Don't overpack, don't overthink it, and yeah, just try that
Yeah,
simplistic approach. I found
yeah.
after our big lap around Australia in 2019, we came back to the house and I was so overwhelmed with all our stuff. I was like, there is
Yeah,
stuff everywhere. And
yeah,
I've just lived for 6 months without it. So it's very refreshing to do like a getaway with limited gear. Just to,
sure,
yeah.
for sure. Um, what are your 3 biggest tips about money saving hacks
Oh,
that would be helpful for people before they hit the road?
so if you have the capacity to have a freezer, just a small one where you can buy meat in bulk at the bigger towns and freeze it and then pull it out as you need it, that'll
Mhm.
save you a lot of money, especially like in some of the outback towns if you're going through the Kimberley where just food is so expensive because supply and demand really. So if
Thanks.
you can pack up at the big towns with your meat and then defrost it as you go. And it's really good to take things like frozen veggies too, because sometimes you can't get food in some parts of the Kimberley as well, and some like rural place, or it's very expensive or it's not that
Yeah.
fresh. So yeah, I like to have frozen veggies, frozen hash browns, because every time we catch fish, we'd have hash browns and fish like on the fire, which is like rustic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of our favourite meals. Another tip saving thing is like when you get to the petrol stations, yes, you can't avoid buying fuel. You need it. It's probably going to be the most expensive thing on your trip.
Yeah.
But if you can avoid buying the soft drinks and the food at the service stations, especially in the outback locations, you'll save a lot of money, especially with kids and they're hot and they want an ice block and they want a drink. And like you want one too because you've been driving for 2 to 3 hours and you just need something. So we would, again, stock up at the big centres and get fizzy drinks or poppers for the kids, or Zupa Dupas is another good one. Doesn't take up too much room in the freezer. And you, after you fuel up, you can still sit down and have stuff from your own thing. That will save you a lot of money.
Yeah, great tips. Fantastic.
They're simple little ones, but it all adds up.
Yeah.
And my third tip would be like free camp when you can, when you feel like it's a safe spot.
Yeah. Speaking of free camps, where's the most favourite of your free camps that you've been?
Ooh, like like when you look at free camps in New South Wales, they're hard to find. Queensland, there's not so many, but the free camps in Western Australia and Queensland and Tasmania are the best because there's so many of them. I'm not going to give you my favourite ones. I don't want to overcrowd it, but they're my favourite states. And there's ample places. Actually, really cheap, great free camps in.
Hey, it's Annette Jones from Big Lap Chats here. Just interrupting this episode to let you know, if you want to get the answer to this part of the question, then you'll need to join up to my membership where you can hear the extended version. The URL to go to do that is blccrew.allaroundoz.com.au. You can also find a link in the show notes over at allaroundoz.com.au/podcast. Otherwise, let's get back to our regular podcast.
But we also had a quick boat. So it was like a folding boat. So we carried it on the top of our camper trailer. And that was the best investment. They don't make them anymore, but they do porter boats, I think they do now. But yeah, that we could pull up anywhere and just set it up and just get in there. So we were like using it all around Kangaroo Island. We went out to the reef on Ningaloo Reef with it. We even did it up a little bit in the Kimberley, which stressed me a bit because of the crocodiles. But my husband was like, nah, she'll be right. And we were right. It's just a bit stressful. Still here to tell the tale.
We did a road trip a few years back, just in a car and staying in hotels along the way or Airbnbs along the way.
Yes.
And there's a marine park in Freycinet National Park, and their oysters were the best we've tasted.
Wow.
So good.
Delicious.
So good. And I'm not a huge oyster lover, but Cav certainly is. And I think we went through 2 dozen that day. Yeah.
We were lucky when we were traveling around with the kids. They were too young to really like the taste of oysters, so we got them all back then. But now their tastes are changing, so we have to share them now.
Fair enough. So what's your secret to finding the most, say, like one of those picturesque, breathtaking spots, and how do you go about finding them?
Ooh, the main thing that's really good to do is when you're traveling along, stop at visitor information centres and just have a little chat. They quite often know where there's free camps and places, but also even when you're in the campgrounds or when you pull up to a camp, just chat with people. If they've head the other direction, they'll let you know about a little gem. Oh, it's just down this road. And it's really good to just talk to people as you're traveling because it's relevant what you're seeing. That's my biggest tip. Yeah. Also, you can have a look on Instagram. I like scrolling on Instagram of stuff. But like when I was traveling Australia, that wasn't even a thing. So it was literally word of mouth of what people told you was a really nice place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you would have got back just before COVID.
Yes.
If you were back in 2019.
We were actually planning to do our trip in 2019, and I said to G'day, our son's actually going to be starting kindergarten then, so maybe we should just pull it forward a year so that he doesn't miss out on that schooling, which I think was incredibly lucky because we got to show them what we knew about Australia and explore new places as well without any kind of restrictions. So that was wonderful. Yeah.
And possibly not the crowds either that
Yes.
there is today, I believe. Although last year, as in 2024, a couple of the places we went to said it's not as busy this year as it has been in the last few years since COVID. So maybe it is so maybe it is settling down a bit.
It
I
could be
don't
the
know.
fact that the borders have opened up and people are starting to travel the world again. So
Yeah.
I think for quite a while, everyone could only travel in Australia. So the roads
Yeah.
were super busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's for sure. If you could give only one piece of advice to someone planning their first lap, what would you tell them?
Don't wait until you have the right amount of money, or you'll never have enough money to do everything you want to do. Don't wait too long. Just set yourself a date and aim for it and go for as long as you can with that amount of money, because sometimes you can't leave a job for too long, or you use your circumstances and yeah, just book a time and then start saving and go for it.
Good advice.
It's never going. It's like having kids. When's the most perfect time to have kids? Like when there's no
Yeah,
perfect time. Just
that's very true. I remember saying that to my dad. He said, "When do you think you'll have kids?" And I'm like, "Oh, when we can afford them." He said, "You'll never be able to afford them."
it's so true.
What do you think? What do you think one of the biggest myths are about travelling around Australia, and one that we could bust?
Myth that needs busting.
Yes.
Ooh, I can't think of an answer for that one.
Okay, that's fine.
Maybe we can cut that.
Maybe I just never went asked that one. With your Spotto books, and we'll talk about that in a little while. But how do you stay connected, but still remain productive on the road without sacrificing the adventure? Did you work while you were on the road?
I didn't. So I was going around and enjoying the road trip. Like when I did my big trips with the kids, there wasn't big on social media. So I felt like I was very present and
Okay.
it was a wonderful family time. I did
Yeah.
obviously take a lot of photos that would then put into Spotto books, but I've
Yeah.
always got my camera on me. That's not new. So I love taking photographs. So I found it easy to enjoy the holiday and live and enjoy each moment. And then the work started afterwards because, like I said, I went in 2019 with the big lap with the family, and 2020 hit, COVID came, and I realized everyone's going to be traveling internally. And I thought I need to make these books to help parents survive those long road trips. Not only just to entertain the kids, it's more to help the parents smash out big drives so the kids are entertained. The work came solidly in 2020 after the travel. I think it was very helpful that I know Australia really well by being an ex-tour guide
Mhm.
and doing 2 laps of Australia to create the books and know a lot
Yeah.
of the content. I was going to put them in it already. But yeah, I was lucky enough to not work on the road.
Mm, that's good.
Yeah.
So you can enjoy all that time
Yes.
with your family and out and about and
Yeah.
seeing
Has
things.
adjusted now that I'm continuing to create books. So
Yeah.
even on our trip back from Brisbane, we were visiting family in Queensland. So when we're coming back down the coast, I turned it into a bit of a work holiday as well. So we were stopping at all the New South Wales big things because that's a book that's coming out this year. Yeah, the joy of not working while traveling hasn't lived on, like it's combined into my life
Yeah.
now.
But you do travel for camping shows, don't you?
Yes.
Caravan camping shows?
Yes, so we do a lot of camping shows all around New South Wales, Queensland, Canberra, and potentially Victoria this year as well.
Okay. And how long are you away for in those times? Is it because they tend to be not really spread out throughout the year, do they? Concentrated.
They're generally not so much through the colder months like in the
Yeah.
May and June, like for us in New South Wales. But yeah, I generally travel for about a week at a time because most camping shows are over a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But if it's a big one, it'll extend out for the whole week. So usually it's just a week away. So travel day there, a week working the show and then a travel day back.
Yeah. So you don't combine your work with holidays?
No, not at this stage. No.
Yeah.
I like to, just go away for a little getaway. Yeah.
So tell me how the Spotto books came about. Like, how did that all evolve for you? What was the trigger, and then what was the process? I know what it's like when you're trying to publish and produce things. How long did that take as
So
well?
it started when my kids were 1 and 3 and we were doing a trip out to the Birdsville races. It was our first big camping trip as a family, and my youngest was still in nappies. It was a bit of a challenging holiday with all the dust and dirt and flies as you're going out to the
Yeah.
outback. But it wasn't that was the hardest thing. It was the kids saying, I'm bored, are we there? Can we stop? And that went
Yeah.
on for 3 days solid as we're driving out to Birdsville. And I said to my husband, I said, if we can't find a solution, we're going to have to stop traveling.
Yeah.
Yes, more of that. We went down to the Flinders Ranges and back across to New South Wales. More of I'm bored, and it just was a really painful trip for all of us. And we had planned to do a trip up to Cape York the next year. So I
Okay.
thought I really need to sort something out. Why aren't they just looking out the window? Why aren't they? There's so much to see. There's beautiful,
Yeah.
there's echidnas and kangaroos, and drive past the big banana. Like, why can't you spot that? And
Yeah.
so I thought when we do a trip up to Cape York, I'll put pictures of things in a book that they can tick off as they see it.
Mm.
And so as we left, I put the books in the car. I didn't show it to the kids beforehand. And we're driving up, and we're leaving Sydney, and my son's, Mum, that's a Brolga, Spotto. And I was like, no, they're not in Sydney. And it started this conversation. Well, where are they? So they're up north. They're in Queensland. And it's, oh, where's the cassowary? They're in Queensland too. And just started conversations and interest in what was around. And then they were looking out for everything. And every time they got in and out of the car, they would grab these books and look at them and talk about the things that they saw. And they were very excited when they did actually spotto something and tick it off. And like my son's ticks were like almost scribbles, and my daughter's were nice little ticks because she was
Yeah.
already in school. But it was great that they could both do it, even though they couldn't really write at that stage. And they were just happy, and the whinging had stopped. And I was so surprised at how well they worked. I said, this is incredible. So then when we did our big lap around Australia in 2019, I made them up a different book each, and my husband won like a really hard one of
Yeah.
things that he really wanted to spot, like different birds that I didn't think he would be able to find. And they had a lot of fun finding them and looking for them. And it was really a beautiful evolution that they would actually take it out of the car and take it on walks so that they could spot the different wildlife that I'd put in it. And when we got
Excellent.
back to the campsites, they were still looking at it and playing with it, and all the other kids from around would come over and look through, and parents and grandparents would say to me, they're such a good idea. You should make them. You could sell
Yeah.
them. And I guess that's how the seed was planted.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how long did it take then from that time to actually producing your first book?
So I think when COVID hit, I decided, all right, I've got time now, and everyone's going to be traveling internally on the road. This is
Yeah.
the perfect time, or the only time that's worthwhile to give it a go.
Yeah.
And so I did a book in about a month and tested it. And so that was produced right at the end of 2020, but then I didn't start selling it to early 2021.
Yeah.
Just showing it to a few friends and family, set up the website. And then I thought, okay, let's take a few more books. Let's take, say, 5 books to the camping show, the Super Show in Sydney, which is the New South Wales biggest show.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made 4 more books and printed them by April, which was a bit of a feat, but I was very proud of it. And we launched them at the Caravan Camping Show, and we sold 700 books in 6 days.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought this is a product.
Yeah, for sure.
And
It's
they
a goer.
actually approached me and said, would you run our kids zones? Because this is such a great product for kids. So for the following 3 years, I ran the kids zones for CCIA for the camping shows in New South
Wow.
Wales and Canberra. So that was really exciting. And then what I would do, I would talk to families that had bought the Australia book or bought the classic, bought my early books, and just ask them what they would like next, and just started a bit of a community. And then I ended up bringing out 17 books so far.
Wow, that's incredible.
Thank you. We've sold over 20,000 copies, which is really good for a 4-year one, and I print them all in Australia as well. So
that's great.
Yeah,
really well done.
Thank you.
I love hearing Aussie success stories. It's really and the products that are made here and stay here as well as being sold here.
Yes, I could print them overseas cheaper, but I think it's much better to give jobs to other Australians as well. And they're for Travelling Australia. So, yeah.
Yeah, good for you. I love it.
Thank you.
Really, really good. Okay, so what's the insider secret that you swear by but rarely share in public?
Ooh, inside secret. I can't think of any. Inside secret. Nope, drawing blanks, Annette, sorry. I'm a pretty good sharer, so I don't think I hold anything.
I find that a lot with extroverts. They're like, oh, no, I just tell everyone everything.
Maybe just my perfect campsites I don't share.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Don't want them to come overcrowded.
Yeah. I shared one in just outside Armidale, and I think it's going to go nuts.
Yeah, be careful, be warned.
Yeah. But it's always good to come across those sites, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I feel really lucky that we are able to find those sites, whether it's just low cost or whether it's free, or even, that you come across this super duper caravan park that ticks all your boxes, whether you've got kids or not.
Yes.
I think that's one of the most exciting things about travel is everything's new. Everywhere you go, generally, when you're traveling around, it's so new.
Yes.
Exciting, adventurous, all those things. But when you come across one of those special spots, then it's like the cherry on top.
I know, right? Yeah. I don't like to plan my trip out too much. Like I've got destinations, key things that I want to see, but in between those key things, I don't like to book anything because I like to explore. And if you see something, you can stop. If you find but I do go into information centres a lot when you travel and just say, oh, where's a really nice spot that you can go for lunch, and they can tell you parks that you can go to, stuff that's not really advertised everywhere. So, I like to do that.
Yeah. There's no comparison for local knowledge, is there?
Oh.
I mean, you'd be able to show me spots in your hometown
100%.
And I'd probably be able to show you spots in my hometown that are hidden gems is an overused word, but there's certainly different places.
And you find when you go in to visit an information centre, a lot of them are volunteers, and they're volunteering because they're passionate about where they're from. Just having a chat with them, you really find out a lot about the area and a bit about the history, and it's just stuff that you can't really read in books. Some people have been living there their whole lives and want to tell you about the best park down the road or, the best fishing spots. So,
or the best hike or something like that. What else can you tell us? Do you have any other information to share just before we wrap up?
My big tip for travelling, if you're for trip planning, is to...
Hey, it's Annette Jones from Big Lap Chats here. Just interrupting this episode to let you know, if you want to get the answer to this part of the question, then you'll need to join up to my membership where you can hear the extended version. The URL to go to do that is blccrew.allaroundoz.com.au. You can also find a link in the show notes over at allaroundoz.com.au/podcast. Otherwise, let's get back to our regular podcast.
So that's how we planned our trip out.
Oh, yeah. Great tips. That's terrific. Thanks very much for joining me today, Jess. It's been a great pleasure chatting with you, and I know that the listeners will find lots and lots of valuable information and tips.
Yes.
So thanks very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me. Might just mention too, it's a really good thing if you can get a Spotto book if you've got kids to take them in the car, because they are so lightweight. They're very thin. They won't take up much room in your car, but they're going to take a lot of stress out of a journey. Yeah, just because they'll be entertained looking out the window while you're driving. So
yeah. Thanks for joining me today, Jess. And just before we go, a couple of things. Where can people find you?
So you can get me online at spottobooks.com.au.
Okay.
And that's my Big Things book there, which is super popular for even the big kids too. You don't have to be a kid to use that one.
That's terrific. And I'll have all of this information in the show notes. And Jess has very generously offered our listeners 10% discount. So I'll pop all that information in the show notes, as well as links out to all your socials.
Thank you.
Thanks for that information. And again, thank you for joining me today. It's been a great pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me, and happy travels, everyone. Get out there, start exploring.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks, Annette. That was fun.
Thanks for tuning in to Big Lap Chats. We hope today's episode helped you take another step towards planning your lap of Australia. And if you're already on the road, we hope you picked up some great tips on where to stay and what to see and do along the way. If you found it helpful, we'd love your feedback. Head over to allaroundoz.com.au/podcast, where you can also download the show notes and find more resources to help with your journey. We'll be back next week with more tips and stories about caravanning, camping, and planning your lap of Australia. Until then, happy travels.